Hi, my name is Krista Dyke, and this is my persuasive speech. My speech is about teaching harassment at a young age. One of the hardest forms of abuse to define is harassment. And while we've all heard the term, could we really explain it well? According to dictionary.com, harassment is defined as the act or an instance of harassing or disturbing, persisting or troubling repeatedly. So first, let's talk about what is harassment. Harassment can occur in any forms such as electronic, verbal, physical, or sexual actions. And what exactly does harassment target? It can target things like your sexual orientation, your country of origin, disability, gender. And then next, let's talk about educating people on harassment. Do you remember the first time that you were educated about harassment? How old you were? Were you at school? Were you at home? And do you remember how seriously you took it? Was it really that big of a deal? It's really important that we educate our children on harassment. And one of the ways that we can do that is to make sure that in our schools at an early age, children are learning about what harassment is. By teaching our children, we can help really change the world. So first, let's talk about a little bit more what harassment is. So harassment basically is repeatedly harassing someone, bothering them over and over and again. An example of this could be if you wore a religious headdress every day and someone every day called you a name or made fun of you for it. That is harassment. Another example could be being made fun of for your sexual orientation, being called a name over and over again. That is harassment. Harassment can also be physical. Being touched in a private area, that's harassment. Being punched and called a name, that is harassment. For a lot of people, dealing with harassment is very hard, it's very hurtful, and especially because it is repeatedly done over and over again, and if they don't know what to do, they just suffer in silence. Educating early can really make a difference for people. Children are really eager to learn. So getting them young when their minds are ready to be molded can help them learn about harassment. I read an article in Social Media and Suicide, a public health perspective, that stated that cyber harassment really is a serious problem and that education can help. Also, a lack of knowledge about harassment prevents reporting. In the survey that I did, one of the participants stated that they had been harassed and never reported it. So another place where I found some lack of knowledge was from participants in an article in Violence and Victims. These were bartenders that were asked about creating harassment policy in their workplace, and they stated they wouldn't know for sure all forms of harassment. They wouldn't know it if they saw it, and these are bartenders that see all different types of people all day long, and they were unclear on the definition. Another article I read in Pediatric Nursing concluded that because of a lack of education, not understanding what harassment is, children can both be bullied and be bullies themselves. They may act out after having been bullied and will then become a bully themselves. So with the technology in the world today, there are many forms of communication that children have access to, and helping them understand that their words matter, their actions matter, and that they can, if they're not careful, hurt people. If they don't understand how words can hurt people, it can make a big impact on their lives in a negative way. Early education, though, really can help this. So I read an article also in the Journal of Youth and Adolescence that made the statement that victimizing can cause psychological damage in young children. So this is going to change who a child is at a very young age, and especially if they become a bully themselves, it can really change how they feel about themselves. Again, children don't understand the definition of harassment and will therefore act out in ways that are inappropriate because they don't understand. Another reason education can help is to help children to recognize and report harassment. As I stated earlier in my survey, not only did my survey find that definitions vary, but because definitions vary, people also tend to not report, or they don't feel like they have a right to report. So it's really important to educate and make sure that people understand what harassment is and that they must report it. Another article I read on social media and suicide pointed out that there are vulnerable groups out there that can really be targets for bullies, and because they aren't educated, they don't understand what harassment is, they won't report it, so they will continue to be being victims. So in conclusion, the best solution to stem the problem with harassment really is education, and it's education at a young age. There is a real need for our younger audiences out there to have an understanding on this topic. By talking about it openly, having open questions, letting children ask whatever they want to, even when they don't understand, can help get a better picture on this. I have two graphs that I wanted to show, and I save them for last just because there's two important statistics on them that I want to share. The first one is from a website that deals with social issues, and as you can see here, it is a study of 13-year-old girls, and 51% of these girls had reported having sexual jokes made about them or sexual taunts. 51%, that's more than half. The second graph that I want to show you is about young people that are online, young people being ages from 18 to 29, and the main statistic I wanted to point out is that 49% of them reported being called offensive names online. That's harassment. These statistics are just unacceptable. Harassment is like a cancer, and we need to find a cure. One of the best cures for it is education. We must educate our young children. Thank you.